Thank you for joining us for another episode of Cryptocurrent. Just one quick reminder. Cryptocurrent is a cryptocurrency and blockchain education platform that's bridging the gap between the curious newcomers who are just discovering the space and the thought leaders who are shaping its future. All opinions expressed by Richard Carthon, the Cryptocurrent team, and their guests on this show are exclusively their own opinions. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Richard, the team, and their guests as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or to follow as financial advice. This show and any other Cryptocurrent production is exclusively for informational purposes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cryptocurrent. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today I have a very special guest all the way out in Las Vegas working on a really cool project. With full disclosure, I am with through Acacia working with Buddy Dao, which is working to be the first guarantor-based DeFi lending platform. Jack Kelleher, how are you doing today?
Richard, thanks for having me this morning. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited to break this down a little bit more. When I first learned about this project, I was like, this sounds really, really cool. And I see all the different use cases for it. But before we dive into all of that, first I want to learn a little bit more about you. Give us some background on yourself.
Oh boy, background. I bring 35 years of experience in executive management and operational and entrepreneurial background. What does that mean? Number one, it means I'm old. And number two, it means I've seen it all. Yeah. And what I mean by I've seen it all, I've seen 3 or 4 different cycles in my career of expansions and contractions and booms and busts. I started my career back in the early 80s in San Francisco at an investment bank out there that brought a lot of technology companies public, Hamburg and Quist. And a lot of the companies that we brought public back then were the Apples and the Microsofts and the Intels of the world. They're all common names now, but at the time they were all cutting edge, bleeding edge. And what you learn from a cycle like that, you have expansion, you have contraction, you have winners, you have losers. And then, fast forward, it came the dot-com era. I've seen that also. And what came of the dot-com era? A lot of the stuff that's commonplace today. But there were winners, there were losers. Fast forward, part of my career, I spent at Bloomberg. In New York, we had 5 operating units reporting up through our management team. We owned all the algorithms, the smart order routers, all of the matching engines, all the asset classes, all the trading technology. So by the asset classes, I mean equities, U.S. equities, global equities, FX, fixed income, options, futures, all the platforms. And something that I learned is that crypto was just another asset class. And this is going back, 6, 7 years. It's just another asset class with a different underlying technology. And because, and it's kind of funny, as people look at the crypto space now, underlying technology being the blockchain, it's looked at almost mutually exclusively. That you have crypto, you have the coins, you have the assets and the tradable assets, but then you have the underlying technology, which is the blockchain. And for a long time, blockchain was, and this is just the way that I looked at it. At the beginning, it was a solution looking for a problem. And as it started to find the problem, and there were real applications and huge investments started to go into it from both VCs and the banks, it became, it started to build out. Where we are now is the next generation of that. We're going through the Web3. We're going through the DeFi, which is real life application of the technology, of the ability to do everything. And it's really an exciting spot, and that's what kind of brings us to Buddy Dao right now. And hopefully that gives you a little bit of a background of where I am. Like I said, I've seen it all.
Yeah, and it's really helpful to really see like how that journey has evolved over time, and how you're able to take all of those real life experiences and tie them and bring them into what's happening in current day. And this is a really unique opportunity in the crypto blockchain space, as it is still nascent. It's starting to mature, and you see the unique opportunity. So with the experience that you had, working in traditional finance with Bloomberg and everything else, seeing how this is now translating over onto a blockchain and crypto, it kind of led to where you've come today with Buddy Dao. So explain, what is Buddy Dao, and what ultimately did you identify as a challenge that Buddy Dao is now going and solving?
Well, first of all, we move into Web3, and if you want to give me a baseball analogy, we're still in the first inning of a 9-inning game, maybe even the top of the first. We're barely scratched the surface. But with Buddy Dao, it gets, one of the other things I've learned from being in traditional finance and having my background there, but having moved into the crypto space, is that, again, my opinion, I firmly believe that all of the disciplines that have been proven out and developed and used in traditional finance over the years, it is going to be directly transposed into DeFi in the future. And there's nothing more fundamental in the traditional finance world than somebody who's going to, who's going to co-sign a loan for somebody. So if you think about what Buddy Dao is, it's a DeFi. It's a non-collateralized lending protocol, and it brings borrowers and guarantors and lenders together quickly and very efficiently on one platform or on the protocol. It's fully transparent, and everything is on chain. We think of it as relationship-based underwriting. Again, nothing more fundamental than loans, going out through somebody who's backing the loans. So in the traditional finance world, it would be called a cosigner. In the DeFi world, we call it a guarantor. Here at Buddy Dao, we just call it a buddy. You bring a buddy to the table, and it's pretty simple. If you think about how the ecosystem works, how the workflow would work. You have a borrower, you have a lender, you have a guarantor, and in the middle would be sitting the protocol. The borrower doesn't have any collateral. Very, very common. And if you think about what the addressable market is globally of people who are unbanked or underserved, it's enormous. Think about Southeast Asia, think about Malaysia, think about the Philippines, think about South America, think about Africa. It's an enormous market. But the borrower to borrow money doesn't have any collateral, or wants to borrow crypto in this case. We have a lender. The borrower goes to a guarantor. The guarantor is somebody who is going to, the borrower is leveraging off-chain relationship for an on-chain lending usage. It helps to predict the borrower's creditworthiness also. But if the borrower goes to the guarantor will, into the protocol, will pledge crypto assets and get back from the protocol a stable line of credit. They will then share that line of credit with the borrower. What are the benefits? It mitigates the risk because the person who you're borrowing from or who's backing it. It's co-signing a loan. And at the same time, as we begin to build out the protocol, we do internal credit profiling. We don't pull somebody's credit from the past, because that's not the way that we want it to work. But because all we care about is the social credit score within Buddy Dao. We keep it on-chain data, and we continuously analyze each borrower. The goal is, at some point, is for that borrower to be self-sufficient, to have high enough social score to be able to go in without having to have a guarantor to go with it. the benefits of the guarantor and the lender. Again, the guarantor, um, the guarantor pledges their crypto assets. They get back that stable line of credit. They share the stable line of credit. The borrower gets back stable coins. The lender will get a note token and will put into the protocol a stable BUSD in this particular case. And the benefits to the lender, it's a fixed stable return. There's a low risk structure that goes with it, backed by the guarantor. They get a 3 to 5% return on their money, fairly low risk, and they get a mining reward that goes with it. When we have a mining module that becomes enabled in which is on our roadmap in version 2. The benefit for the guarantor is they're bringing 12 to 14%, because there is more risk in all of it. There's a mining reward that goes with it. Now there are other players that have got into this space, who are doing uncollateralized loans, and they all have enormous market sizes. Goldfinch, Maple, Teller, TrueFi. Goldfinch, goes after the institutional borrowers, as TrueFi. We have Teller, who goes after individual borrowers. Our differentiating feature is clearly that we bring the guarantor to the table. We bring that co-signer to the table. Even enough to think that there's not going to be defaults. Of course there is. Of course there is. The typical default rate in any lending platform is 3 to 5%. Now we think that we mitigate that risk because the counterparty, in this particular case, is the guarantor. You're bringing a friend to the table. It's not like you're just taking a loan from something. You're bringing a friend to the table. They already have a pretty good idea what your credit worthiness is before you even do that. So we think that we mitigate that counterparty risk, very well. And then, as we build out the protocol and we do that social credit score, that it mitigates the risk. In the case that we do have an actor that would not, that defaults on a loan, we're going to airdrop a bad credit token, from the borrower right into the from the guarantor right into the borrower. I guess that would be a soul-bound token, based on the soul-bound soul token standard. It would be displayed in OpenSea's wallet, and it's visible for everybody to see. So we think that it's as fundamental as can be. The protocol sits in the middle, as we build it out, but it's as basic as can be, Richard.
Yeah, thanks for breaking all that down. I'll try to bring it all back. So for all those who are listening, you didn't get to see Jack's visual with what he did on screen, but I'll try to describe it to you. So the way that you can kind of visualize it is basically at the top of the triangle, think of your lender. The left of the triangle, you have the guarantor. To the right of the triangle, you have the lender. And so you put all of these, or the borrower. So you put all these together in the middle, and that is the protocol which makes up BuddyDAO. And so what's unique to BuddyDAO compared to some of these others, you bring your buddy with you, you bring your guarantor who's going to help co-sign this loan, which I understand how that works. When I was first getting my first line of credit, I had to have my father help me with getting my first line of credit. So being able to have someone that can come and validate and say hey, I'm good for this particular loan, and knowing that they're going to have a path to making money with that, having your lender make money as well, and for your person who's doing the borrowing in the first place, it now allows them a path to be able to participate in overall for the BuddyDAO protocol to mitigate the risk, as you were saying. So it kind of completes the triangle. It's a way that can mitigate a lot of the challenges that we've seen that other protocols have done with overlending and not having enough reserves to really solidify the value that is within each of these protocols. Obviously, there's Celsius as an example. You're starting to see this happen at a couple of other institutions, and it looks like that y'all have been very thoughtful in how you go and approach these different things. Now, for everyone that's coming in, like one of the first things that might come up when they think about this is, okay, well, if I have to bring a guarantor with me, what if I don't specifically know one? Is there an open market where I can potentially find a guarantor that will work with me?
Well, in version two, yeah, we want to be able to develop an app that will have a menu of guarantors, menu of lenders that go with it, that you can go, somebody can see your profile is, and the guarantor can step up to the plate and back your loan.
Got it. Okay, that's cool. And then the other part of it too, with the soulbound token, I think it's a unique approach to. For those who don't know what a soulbound token is, imagine basically being given an NFT that can't be removed. So it basically is following that wallet address to identify, like, hey, there's some sketchy stuff that's been happening here. Watch out for this particular address. So with putting these kind of things in place, like, how are you how are people starting to receive the concept of the security and the unique approach of Buddy Dao compared to, like you said, some of those other investment vehicles that are out there? With there's a lot of obvious use cases and benefits to these DeFi lending protocols, but we also have seen the extreme other side of when it goes very wrong. So, how are you helping to build confidence into people coming back into DeFi and being able to do this kind of uncollateralized lending?
Yeah, again, the most important part of that, Richard, is you're not going to eliminate the risk. The fact that you can make everybody comfortable that you're mitigating the risk as much as possible. With the soulbound token, bringing a buddy, this relationship type of banking, creating the credit score that goes with it. We think all of that mitigates the risk to a point where everybody feels pretty comfortable with it.
Awesome. Let's talk about that a little bit more. So the thing that's unique, there hasn't really been a credit line or a way to like building a DeFi lending type of credit score, right? The way that you're able to see like who are potential good borrower or people that you would want to give these you would lend to, and people who would potentially default, to not have any type of indication of how that would play out. Buddy Dow's helping to create that. How useful do you think that type of tool will be, and how do you think it potentially can be replicated into the future?
Oh, it's hugely useful. Again, the whole idea is to be able to get a borrower to a point where they don't need the guarantor that goes with it, that they can go in because they've already built a credit score for themselves, or a social credit score, let's call it, that they've already built their own their credit to be able to go in and to be able to go into the protocol, and the protocol recognize that, and to be able to that a lender will step to the plate and make the loan to them. That's the whole idea behind it, is to open it up to everybody who can get these loans, and who normally doesn't have access to it.
And by providing this access, it brings more people to the table and gives them a way to participate in a lot of different opportunities that are out in this crypto space. So, someone's listening to this right now, they're like, okay, look, I've been looking for a DeFi protocol that I think can allow me access to funds that I typically wouldn't have access to. I know someone who's willing to vouch for me to help me get me up and running on my feet. What are the first steps look like for being able to come on Buddy DAO and using this particular protocol?
Everybody will come into the protocol. Basically, for lack of a better term, sign up. Pledge their assets. Bring the buddy to the table. Validate, verify, and the loan is as quick as can be.
Got it. Well, that's really exciting. For those who are looking to get more information on this,
Richard, is to make the idea, make it as simple as possible, and the protocol and the platform is as simple as the whole idea is fundamental.
right? And keeping it simple helps for mass adoption, helps for people to come on and immediately start to use it. So for all of those who are listening and this sounds really interesting, go check out Buddy Dao. That's BUDDYDA o.io. And once you're on there, you're able to sign up, see the process to get this going. Seems really interesting. But what are other ways, Jack, that people can go and learn more about all the things that BuddyDAO has going on?
Go to our website, buddydao.io. Go to our Telegram group. We have 100,000 people in our Telegram group.
Excellent. So
And
go
we're
participate
constantly
in
doing
that.
that. And we also,
Yeah, after you. So you have the website, Telegram. You're constantly sending updates and making sure that people are up to date and participating.
correct, as well as our Twitter account.
Excellent. Well, Jack, appreciate all the information. Always like to wrap up with a fun few questions. The first being, you have years of experience through both bull and bear cycles, innovations happening, and people having to adjust to change. With 2022 being a big year for change in a lot of different ways, whether no matter what industry you're kind of in, we're starting to see a lot of change occur in a lot of different ways. If you could go impart one or two pieces of wisdom to yourself back when you were just stepping into the world and having to experience all of these things, what is some wisdom you would impart to yourself?
Well, first of all, you have to be flexible. You have to have vision. As you become an entrepreneur or as you get into any business, when you have an idea, have conviction, with that idea, make decisions, make them data-driven decisions. If you're going to build a product, if you're going to move something forward, test something in the marketplace. I have this theory. If you've ever seen the movie, Field of Dreams, the underlying, the underlying theme of it is, if you build it, they will come. Well, you know what? You can have the greatest idea in the world. If somebody else doesn't believe that it's a great idea, they're not going to buy it. You can have the greatest idea in the world. Somebody might agree with you, but customers may not pay for it. So, go into the marketplace, make sure that there's a market for what you're trying to do, and then surround yourself with people, and people who are smarter than yourself, and trust them. Put a plan together, and a solid plan, put it together. And that plan is only as good as the first day that you roll the plan out. Then it becomes a tactical plan, and then you have to be smart enough to recognize what's going on in the real world. You have to be nimble enough to make changes in the plan, and then execute, execute, execute. Period.
Awesome. I think that's a really good gem. Really, really, really good. Everyone go back and listen to that a couple times. It's a great reminder that you have to be flexible. You have to be able to pivot. You got to adjust and surround yourself with people who can constantly be both challenging you, but also be pointing you in the right direction and helping you to find that North Star to help you move forward to that conviction.
And you have to listen to what the market is telling you.
Definitely. So keep your ears open and don't get so laser focused that you lose sight of what everyone around you is trying to inform you on. So, Jack, I appreciate all the information. What is a final thought that you want to leave with everyone here today?
Uh, the final thought is just in the DeFi world. I think I said it before. We're in the first inning of a 9-inning game. Everything that's been proven out and used in traditional finance, it's going to be transposed into DeFi and the Web3. It's going to be there. The winners, there's going to be losers. There's going to be first to the market. There's going to be expansion. We happen to believe that it's an enormous market. We've done our due diligence on everything, and we just look forward to doing what I do best, and that's just executing the hell out of this thing.
No doubt. And looking forward to seeing where BuddyDAO goes and you executing on that plan and being a part of the BuddyDAO journey. So again, Jack, thank you so much for spending the time. Thank you for sharing all the information. And of course, for everyone listening, stay cryptocurrent.